I'd like to get this started with, just how did you get started in this? What was your initial exposure to this stuff?
I got started playing drums. My mother was very supportive of my musical abilities when I was a kid, and I wanted to be a drummer first. Because do you remember? Well, I guess they still have the Mickey Mouse Club, don't they? I don't know. But back when we were kids, Mickey Mouse Club was really new, and there was a kid. One of the Mouseketeers was named Cubby, and he played drums, and I just wanted to be a drummer after I saw Cubby. So I played drums all the way through grade school and high school. But during high school is when the British invasion started happening, and I heard all this harmonica stuff going on, and I fell in love with that. And I tell people that I stopped playing drums because I couldn't get them in my mouth. I wish I had them right now. Bada boom.
Kind of same thing for me. You know, my mom listened to the radio all the time. We had the radio on in the kitchen, 247. We didn't, it was a long time before we had a TV. My dad had a radio in the living room, and he would listen to music all the time, and it just was a thing around the house. And then, of course, you see, for me, it was kind of like I had my mother's guitar to strum first. She showed me a few open chords, but I didn't take it seriously until the late 50s. And, I saw Buddy Holly on TV, and I thought, wow, that's really something, and I got a guitar, and I just my mom's guitar first, and strummed that, and then when I could finally play along with Buddy Holly, Peggy Sue, from the beginning of the record to the end of the record, I thought, wow, this is okay then. That was kind of like my line of demarcation. Up until then, everything had been just like, I'd play for 6 months and drop it for 6 months, and then, I think I must have been like 13 then when I really started taking it seriously, and I knew that I had it. Then I could play strum along the chords with Buddy Holly from the beginning of the song to the end of the song, and I guess that's where it really started. And of course, I heard Chuck Berry, and then I went, wow, Maybelline, and of course that whole thing. And then that's all my peers, the guys I was hanging out with at St. Joe's grade school. We listened to 45s. We had a little 45 player. That's all it did. You had to set the record on, put the needle on, play it, take it off. And the guys I hung out with, that's what we listened to, and I started to emulate that. And next thing you know, I was trying out for bands, and that's how I met Jim. So.
Well, we talk a lot about getting people to practice and going through sort of an incubation period where at some point you have to go in the shed and come out transformed. Did you guys ever go through one really significant transformation period where you went into the shed, into the woodshed, and came out transformed?
Yes.
Good answer.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, there have been so many moments. I can't even remember them all. My wife used to say that your memory's getting so bad, Jim, when you die, someone else's life is going to flash before your eyes. I can't point to any one moment. No, it's been a string of them. Can I brag a little bit?
Of course. The Jim Liban Show.
One of those moments in that string, I was in a band in the late 60s, a blues band around here, and we moved to San Francisco during the summer of love, and we would play the ballrooms, Avalon, Fillmore. We go down to LA and play the Whiskey. And one night, we were booked at the Whiskey A Go-Go for a weekend. That's how they used to do it back then. And one night, there was a buzz in the club, and the buzz was going, Jimi Hendrix is here. Jimi Hendrix is here. And, okay, so Jimi Hendrix is here. Nice. Okay. And he sat off on a table all by himself, didn't come up to the band, didn't say anything. Next night, he came back, with his guitar. And he asked if he could sit in with us. And I said, I don't know, Jimmy. Of course we let him sit in, and that's a pretty. I think that's a pretty big highlight. I mean, I'm certainly going to tell my grandkids when they get a little older to know who Jimi Hendrix is. You know. That was kind of cool.
That's very cool. It's not as cool as what I'm going to say. Next question.
We have a question over here. Justin, what's your question?
Awesome. So I guess mine's going to apply to both of you. When you guys were first getting started, and playing your first gigs or whatever, what would you see was more important, developing your own style or sound, or getting a repertoire of songs to play?
Yes. Again, I mean, and I don't mean to be flip about it, but none of us live in a vacuum. We're all influenced by everybody. Mose Allison said that originality is an illusion, and I strongly believe that. So we're really all just products of what we absorb, what we listen to, what we're drawn to, what speaks to us. However, that being said, I remember all the old blues guys would always, one of the things they stressed when you could get them to talk about it was they'd say, you've got to develop your own sound. So that being said, what you do is you take all influences you can or that you like, and you kind of roll them up in a big ball and kind of throw them out the window and then just play. And put your own spin on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great answer.
Jeff? Anything to add?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the first and most important thing for me was so I wouldn't run out of songs. In other words, I think I just concentrated on learning as many songs as I possibly could. I wasn't worried about style. I wasn't worried about content or anything, just so that we wouldn't have to repeat the same set over again. You know what I mean? It's like... So you could have 3 or 4 sets comfortable of music where every song was different. So that was a big watershed for me, so that you could go to the job and you wouldn't be, I remember the first time I played in Frame Park in Waukesha at the Schutze building, and we did the same set 3 times, and they thought it was cool, but I was kind of embarrassed by it, but it was important. I thought that we get a lot of material so that things are different, And then after that, then of course, like you said, all those guys say, after you've learned all this stuff, then bring something of yourself to it. I think that's what's the important thing about music is after you learn how to play, you like Eric Clapton or you like James Brown or whoever you liked and you emulated them and you learned all that stuff. Then later on, like my T-Bone Shuffle and the tunes that I write, the instrumentals that I write, are an amalgam of all those things. And then you try to be yourself with the instrument, and that's when the real growth comes. You can still be a cookie cutter and copy all those other tunes, but then you can bring something of yourself to it.
Yes, sir. Next question.
Hi there. At what time in your life were you
What's your name, sir, and where are you from?
John, from the world. At what time in your life were you most creative?
I'm sorry.
At what period of your life?
Hearing is going as well
I'm
as
sorry.
my memory.
No. At what period of your life? In what period? At what age were you most creative?
Most creative?
When I was younger. There was a time probably in the 70s, mid-70s, maybe into the mid-80s, I think, for me it was. And I was just more things I thought I had to say. Looking back on it, it's another question, another thing. But I don't know. Yeah, I would just write and write and write and practice and practice and practice. And every gig I would record and I would listen to it the next day, all 3 hours, and I would find out what worked and what didn't. And every idea I got, I wrote down in a notebook. And I still have notebooks that are just piles and piles of them, you know, and that's what, by the way, that's what napkins were invented for, writing down ideas.
I think for me it was around the same time, 70s, 80s, but I had more strength then. In other words, like learning how to play a musical instrument is almost like sports. You build yourself up so you can play really well. And I could attempt more things and do more things, and I was taking more advantages because I had strength then. My chops were up. You know, I don't play as much today as I did then, you know, because there was a period of time in there I got into changing diapers in a big way. And I wasn't able to put as much time on the instrument. And then I had another episode where I was into changing diapers again. And then the third and final episode was diapers again.
So that was your most creative part, right?
I got so I could change a diaper in the dark with my eyes closed and not getting anything on myself.
Oh.
Troy, next question.
When you were starting out, was it more important for you to like be on a record label, or be know what I'm saying, be with a record label, or just playing? What was more important for you? Both of you. What was the most important thing?
Once again, yes. All I ever wanted to do, my bottom line was to be able to make a living playing music. But being young and full of myself, I thought I had a lot to offer the world, and I wanted the world to hear it, and I wanted to be on a label, you know. And as fate would have it, when I was out in San Francisco, the band did get signed to MGM, and I've, anyway, that was the beginning of it, but it happened, So yeah, it was you especially when you're young. No, I could care less, but about the label, but I still want to play.
Yeah, same for me, making money. It's like I wasn't, you always hear about being discovered. Some guy's going to come in the club that night and, you're on your way, but a lot of it is luck. It's a lot of things, but we just wanted to make money, and play great music and have a good time doing it, but money was a big factor. I wasn't thinking about being on a label at all,
Kate, next question, please.
The intimate dynamic of like a duo setting is completely different than the dynamic of playing in like a big group. Which do you guys prefer and why?
Whichever pays more.
Good answer.
I have no preferences. I mean, they all have their good points and bad points. Depends.
Breathing in and breathing out, that's it for me.